everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 4th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 26 live feeds. It was day 19 in the house, and we had a veto competition. We had more people being exposed, more Quinn being exposed, let's be real. More Joseph and more of me being a bit sick, so I apologize once again. But with me to talk through it all is Kirsten. How you doing, Kirsten?
I'm doing great, Taran. My RHAP Brat shirt literally arrived yesterday, so perfect timing to come on the podcast.
Yes. All right. Wow. Looks great.
Oh, thank you. You could buy that
Uh,
robheswebsite.com/ I think Brat shirt or RHAP Brat.
well, there you go. I just, be careful around Angela.
Listen, Angela says a brat. You're a brat. Being a brat and being brat is very different. So you
Mm.
just have to be careful. If someone calls you brat, it's a compliment. If they call you a brat, they're probably your mom's age and it's not nice.
Where do you fall on the brat versus twit argument?
uh, I well, brat is more like the summer's vibe, right? It's all about brat summer, but twit is for sure something my mom would have said. So I get like warm, fuzzy feelings thinking about my mom being mad at someone.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about the day. We can pull up the graphic here. Of course, Cedric is the HOH. He nominated his three volunteers, Angela, Kenny, and Tucker. And there's really not a lot going on here up until the veto competition today. When we get to the veto competition, we discover that Tucker has won the power of veto. And now there is a brief moment where it seemed as though Tucker might not use the veto on himself. He later says he was just saying that to say it.
Listen, the vibe Tucker was bringing last night was very scenarios,
Mm,
and I love that. I love that for us. After a couple of pretty slow days, at least someone is now, you know, at least providing that maybe things should be a little bit different. Maybe someone else should be put on the block.
maybe, and there are plenty of options. Chelsea, in particular, is still really pushing for Leah. She really is hoping that she can get Leah up on the block. And it turns out Tucker does want to use the veto on himself, but the person he wants to go up on the block is MJ still. He's been pushing this for over a week now. He wants MJ on the block. He wants to flush that power. And he talks to Cam about it.
I'm sorry, I just love this so much because Tucker is like, you know what? If we use it, she uses her power, and then we find out who America thinks is the most annoying. Like this would be so good. We could really know what America's thinking. And I'm inclined to agree, honestly, because with Angela already up on the block, I don't know who would get voted, and I would like to find out.
You know what? We might. So Tucker talks to Cam about this, and he's like, "Yeah, I kind of feel like I just wish he would guarantee us that MJ would go up on the block, but he's not doing that." Now he then goes on to talk with Cam about something else that he has discovered recently. Now it's important to remember that Tucker is now in a couple of different alliances. He's loosely associated with the Visionaries, but not locked in because they never locked him in. He does still technically have the Andersons, which is the Have Not alliance that includes Quinn, Kimo, and Cam. And they did have a bit of a good relationship in that first week, even though they haven't talked too much since then. And then of course he's now in the Shakers as well, with Kenny and Cedric. Um,
And what is shaking? Nothing. Please, I'm begging.
it's our hopes and dreams is what's shaking. So he decides he's already told he also has a final 2 with Joseph. He told Joseph about Quinn's power, already, and now he is going to tell Cam about Quinn's power. He lets Cam know that Kimo told me that Quinn has the power, and it can replace nominations. They are under the impression, he is at least under the impression, that this power can be used anytime before the veto ceremony. And
Oh.
I'm not sure that that is true, but I think it's what he believes.
Yeah, that can't be right.
hmm and Cam, of course, is like, "What the hell? What? Why hasn't he told us? He's supposed to be our ride or die." And he's telling Kimo, but not us? Like, what's up with that? And Tucker's like, "I know, right? I kinda wanna put him up next week."
Well, and you know what? Honestly, it makes sense that you would want to do that in that scenario because why has Quinn made exclusively the weirdest and worst decisions with sharing his power? Like, information can be used to strengthen your position, to strengthen your bonds with people, to make an alliance more solid. He shared it with Angela and Kimo only. Like, that's so weird.
Yeah. Yep. It's this thing, I think we talk about it a lot, and I talked about it yesterday, like, Big Brother is so often about just committing to a path. You
Mhm.
cannot try to walk all paths at once. Once you've told 2 different people, one of whom now hates you, just commit to the path of this power's out there now. You've already let it loose, and it's not that bad for people to know about it. So just admit to it so that you don't get caught lying. And we talked about this already as well, but, like, he's worried. His biggest worry is that if he tells people now, they'll recognize that he was so good at lying to them before. The problem is that in trying to cover up the initial lie, he is now in a situation where he is committing a much bigger and worse offense and lie, to people that he's supposed to trust and that are supposed to trust him. And it's very bad. And Tucker
Mhm.
goes as far as saying, maybe Cedric can put him up. And then, hey, right before the vote, we can reveal he has the power and try to get him voted out. He won't be able to do anything about it.
Well, and it's also just like you're either telling people or you're not telling people. This
Exactly.
half in, half out is just not strong decision making on Quinn's part. And I kind of feel for him, but I'm also like, you really dug this hole for yourself. So let's see what you can do to try and get out of it. But he doesn't even realize that he's in a hole.
Exactly. That's part of it, is that, like, he should realize he's in a hole, but he's just kinda like, "La, la, 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 la. No, nope, nothing bad is gonna happen even though I'm in this
Mhm.
awful position."
And
Um
it's like you can have a little delusion as a treat, but this is not the time for that.
Now, it is worth noting that Cam does specifically ask Tucker, "Do you think Joseph knows?" Tucker just told Joseph a couple days ago. Tucker says, "I don't think so." So, Tucker is still lying about this, and protecting the fact that he's already told Joseph.
I mean, Tucker's just saying stuff is the other thing to consider here.
Yeah. Well, Cam, of course, is gonna go right to Cedric, and tells Cedric about Quinn's power. He says, "Don't say anything to anybody, not even in the Pentagon. But Quinn has the power. This is what it is." And he told Kimo. He only told Kimo. And Cedric, of course, who has a final 2 with Quinn, quality control, is like, "What the hell? Why is he telling Kimo and not us? Is he actually with this group of Kimo, Tikor, Rubina? Is he, like, loyal to them and not us? At the very least, he's playing all sides. He's playing all of us."
Listen, as someone whose full-time job is in quality assurance, the quality has not been controlled with this final 2. No good.
And it really is just like, I mean, these players just let the game slip right out of their hands. And listen, it's not a done deal yet. They're not like dead in the
No.
water. Quinn is not currently on the block. Uh T-Core and Kimo and Rubina still have some runway. But just like the amount of like how much the game was just in all of their hands last week. And all they needed to do was like clench their fists and hold it. And instead they just kind of went, maybe next week.
Yeah.
Is just it's so wild to me, and now things are just quickly crumbling around them.
Yeah. And it's the thing where you need some level of power to solidify things. I think that it's just if you don't have, the HOH or veto, sometimes it feels like you can't solidify something because you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know if the people you're working with are even capable of winning, and maybe you'll need to pivot. So if I don't lock this in now, maybe I'll find something better next week. But it's again that level of indecisiveness that just hurts you from actually moving forward. And that's what we've seen. Like, I mean, Angela's week, crackhead vibes all week from everybody. And that's kind of set the tone for the whole season. Everybody is just out of it.
Mm. So, uh, Cedric would like to see if Quinn's willing to admit to it in various conversations, and we will see those conversations throughout the day. Um, so, we do get a little bit of extra context here, because I think a lot of us have been wondering, like, what's going on? Why did Kimo tell Tucker about Quinn's power? Like, what was the motivation there? Surely, if he told Tucker, he must have also told Tikor, and we just didn't see it. And also weird that they haven't followed up or anything. Like, what's going on here? Well, guess what? It's Love Island season 2 in the Big
Uh,
Brother 26 house.
Listen, it is only natural when you put so many hot people in a house that crushes are going to form, and romantic relationships might start or be pursued. And Kimo just has a little crush. It's okay. He's not being weird about it.
Kimo has a crush on Tucker, and it's just wild to me that like this has happened twice. You know what I mean? It's just weird that this has happened twice in one season, that somebody has a completely unrequited like crush on a specific person who has shown zero interest in either one of them.
I Listen, Tucker is handsome, he's charismatic, he seems fun to be around, and I don't know, maybe he's got those pheromones going. He probably smells amazing.
He's got something going on.
He's just got
But
it like that.
but yeah, Kimo is gonna talk to Tikor and then later Rubina as well about how he kind of has a crush on Tucker and that he feels like he's getting like he gets weird around crushes. And that he's trying to not get weird around this one, but he's worried that like Tucker is maybe acting a little different. Basically, in my mind, it seems as though he's kind of like, yeah, I thought I was pretty close to Tucker, felt like I had a little bit of a crush on him. And then I told him this really secret information and he hasn't really talked to me since. So I'm feeling like I kind of screwed up. But he didn't say
Yeah,
that. But that's what I'm thinking is in his head.
I mean, yeah, and that could definitely be part of it. As well, like he talks about, as a gay man having a crush on someone who isn't a gay man. Like there are, levels to that, and he wants to be he is careful. He calls it being weird about crushes on people that are not, known to be gay men. And like that's a tough dynamic for him to be in, and he's just being very careful to not do anything to make Tucker uncomfortable, which does add, a layer of difficulty for Kimo. So I feel for him.
Hmm.
Having a crush that's not returned is one of the top bottom 10 things that you can feel.
Yeah. In the meantime, Joseph is going through his own little plot line. After the collective meeting he organized the night before that included Brooklyn, he is still on the hunt for who invited Brooklyn to the party because I did not want her here. This was a private party. It was the collective. Angela was here, but we kicked her out. And now all of a sudden, Brooklyn showed up and she's ruining the vibe. So who let her in? And his suspicion is that it was Chelsea.
Yes, he's very adamant that it was Chelsea. And can I just say how wild it is to keep the name of an alliance after you've kicked someone out of it? Like, I just haven't been on the pod since all of this has
I
gone
mean, at
down.
least
And
it wasn't the collect date, you know?
don't put that into the universe, Taran. How dare you?
Uh, so he does kinda talk to Chelsea about it, and the conversation doesn't go well for Chelsea because he comes out of that conversation feeling even more convinced that she's the one. He later talks to Quinn about it, and he's kinda like, "I'm done with Chelsea. I can't believe she, like, unilaterally made the decision to let Brooklyn in because she's close with Brooklyn. I don't trust her anymore. Her and Brooklyn are dictators." And Quinn, who has been thinking about trying to pull Joseph more toward the Quinn, Tikor, Kimo side anyway, uses the opportunity to be like, yeah, I mean, I think Chelsea, Cam, and Cedric maybe all kind of coordinated to pull her in. Um, Hinting at the existence of the
Mhm.
Pentagon, of course, not actually there was some confusion about this. I'm not actually revealing the Pentagon, and says to Joseph, like, "Hey, I think that that is why it's kind of important to keep Rubina around right now because we can use Rubina's thing to help combat that side of the collective when the time comes in the jury phase when we go to war." And Joseph is kind of like, "Yeah, that makes some sense to me."
Yeah, I so 2 things. 1, do you think there's literally anything that Chelsea could have said to Joseph to change his mind? Because I get the sense, like, my perspective on Joseph is that he's kind of like a dog with a bone on any idea that he gets, where he thinks that that's just the reality and no one is going to take that away from him. So
Yeah.
I don't know that she could have said anything to change his mind there, but he's so like Joseph not talk about Rubina challenge level impossible. He can't stop.
Yes. He He definitely I mean, and the thing is, he recognizes that Chelsea is the person who's closest to Brooklyn, so it makes the most
Mhm.
sense for her to have done that, and I mean, he's right to be suspicious in that sense, and Quinn kinda tries to point him in the right direction that it's not just
Mhm.
Chelsea, actually.
But yeah,
But,
how could one person just be like, "Hi, Alliance, I don't care what the rest of you think. This person's with us now." Like, no, that's not how it works.
right. And again, I would say to be fair to him, like, he's right to be concerned. This is a huge red
Mhm.
flag about if the
Yes.
collective was a real thing, this is definitely, like, a problem that you shouldn't just ignore, like Quinn likes to ignore problems. Um,
Hey, we've all been there. We have all turned up the radio so we don't have to hear the sound our car is making at one point or another.
in the meantime, Cedric has to figure out who's gonna go up on the block. Because Chelsea has been pushing Leah a lot, but he really would prefer Rubina for good reason. Rubina's trying to create an alliance that he's not a part of that includes a lot of his allies. And now he has reason to believe that those allies might be loyal to that alliance. And yet this house is just lacking so much direction. There are so few players willing to actually do anything or push any agenda that he's still just like, well, I just need other people to tell me what to do, though. And so there's going to be a lot of that.
Well, and there's also a lot of, why is nobody going to talk to the HOH when someone on the block just won the veto? What are you doing? Why is Cedric alone so much of yesterday?
I think that because basically like Chelsea felt as soon as the veto was won, like boom, we got him because she'd already had the conversation with Cedric where they basically locked in that they'd do Leah. And so I think she was just, yeah, it's gonna be Leah. Had no idea that all this other stuff was happening and how flip floppy Cedric is. But Cedric, his logic is that because he's concerned about Rubina, he can either take the shot and put her up, but then what if she doesn't leave? Or he can try to not put her up and do his best to appease T-Core and build a relationship with Rubina. And those are the two options. And he's
Mhm.
basically decided he should probably go with option number two, which is not a bad option, but he probably should have been doing it from the start. And he does tell Tikor like, "Hey, I'm really feeling like I don't want to put Rubina up." And she says, "Thank you." She appreciates that. They end up in like a bigger meeting where Tikor's there, Joseph is there, Quinn is there, and again, it's like Joseph, the guy that's barely in any alliance with any of them, is is pushing the hardest. And he's like, "Yeah, I feel like it should probably be Kenny that leaves this week because if we keep Angela in, then MJ will be going after Angela, and that's good for us." And Quinn's like, "Yeah, but it's Angela, and I feel like we're not gonna wanna take her out again." It's like, "Yeah, yeah, we can save her for one more week, though, and we'll just all vote her out." Anyway, so then in terms of the renom, I feel like it should be MJ because she either will not use her power, and then maybe we could vote her out, or she will use her power, and we'll get rid of it. And Cedric is like, "Oh, but I would prefer not to do that because then if she uses her power, like, that kinda pisses her off." It's like, "Ah, but don't worry about it. We got your back, so you should probably do it anyway." Like, "Okay, yeah, but then America chooses the replacement." "Oh, really? Yeah, so, like, I don't know about that." "Well, whatever, then America will choose the replacement. We should still probably do MJ." And Quinn's like, "Yeah, back to the Kenny thing. I just feel like, yeah, we'll probably do Kenny. I feel like Kenny's the best person, to leave this week." And Quinn's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah."
Yeah, I there's so much here to pick apart. My main issue really is with Cedric actually, because he has the power. He won the HOH. If he was going to start appeasing the other side, he should have done that Thursday night and been like, I'm appeasing them. That's what I'm doing. Let me appease them. All of this, like, wishy washy, I don't want to get any blood on my hands. I'm just afraid that someone will be mad at me next week. No, then you shouldn't have won HOH because guess what? You're putting people on the block, up to 4 people this season on the block within a week, and someone might be mad at you, and you have to be fine with that. You have to be able to accept that not everyone is going to be so happy with your decision. So I'm really not impressed with just that level of needing direction, needing volunteers, needing everyone to be pleased with the decision is from a gameplay perspective, I'm just not happy with that. Obviously, I like Cedric and I think that's why I'm so disappointed because I wanted more from him and I wanted better. Because like with Quinn and Joseph, we've seen them. We've seen what they've been doing. This is nothing new. Quinn wants Angela out because he thinks that she's the only one who will tell about his power. Joseph wants Rubina out because he's obsessed with getting Rubina out. That they're doing what we expect them to do. Cedric guy's like, until this happened, I had that expectation of better and that hope for better. And now I'm disappointed because I'm not getting it.
Yeah, I think wishy-washy is kind of the theme of the season so far.
Which like can be entertaining, but I think it's just because there's so many of the same people going up week after week that it's not giving the entertainment value that it could otherwise.
Well, so it's kinda like last season, Suri and Izzy would go back and forth. They decisively decide, "This is what we're doing. Wait, no, 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 this is what we're doing." This season, it's like, "This one? No. Maybe this one? But what about this one? I don't know. You guys, what should we do? This one? Maybe this one." And just nobody's actually doing anything except for people like Joseph, and Angela and Kenny and Tucker. Like, the people who don't actually have any power are the ones running the game right now because the ones in power are afraid to do anything.
Yeah. They're not doing anything. And like I find Joseph very interesting and very compelling because it's truly like, it's almost like he is a little like, he's an adult, obviously, but it's almost like he's, like, a little kid in the house because people are just kinda like, "Yeah, yeah, Joseph, whatever you want," but they don't take him seriously at all or seemingly
But
respect
they
his
do,
opinion.
that's what I mean, though. They shouldn't take him seriously, and yet he is running their entire games right now. They're listening to him. Everything he wants them to do, they're just doing, even though he has no power, just because he's the only one willing to say
Well,
anything.
he's got power now.
It's
What's he gonna
wild.
do with it? At least you know what? At least Joseph wants to do something with any power that he has. I would love to see a Joseph HOH. I would love it. I want oh, I can just sense the energy, the scenarios. I would find it so exciting.
I mean, truly, they're just like with Joseph, they're just like letting him, as he would self-describe himself, a snake, letting him slither in to their house, and just like start biting them, like just like
It's
just ruining everything.
Yeah, he's a snake, he's living in the walls of the house, and when he wins HOH, it'll be like that video of the giant snake falling through the ceiling that was living in the walls of that house, if you've ever seen that before. I can't wait.
And what's funny is that he has now gotten into this final two with Tucker, and Tucker's like the other person who's pushing things. And so it's like Tucker and Joseph are somehow running the house, even though neither of them theoretically have any power. Um, so so this is what they kind of land on, according to Joseph. MJ is going to go on the block. They're going to vote out Kenny. And the meeting breaks. And Joseph sticks around with Cedric and he's like, "Hey, I trust you with everything. We definitely still need to watch out for that Rubina situation, but like I really think this is the way. I'm totally with you. I trust you for sure." Now we know that Joseph definitely wants like a final two with Cedric. Basically Joseph is trying to like occupy the spot that Quinn is abdicating via his bad power situation.
Mhm.
And so he really tries to lock in with Cedric as much as possible.
And good for him. Good for him. He's obsessed, and I'm just excited to see where it goes. Cedric is also very into he's like, "I'm gonna ask everyone tomorrow what their vote is, and then I'll make the final decision."
Mhm.
Do you think
Uh,
things could change again? Do you think they will?
oh, there's definitely a chance. I
Yeah.
mean, the veto ceremony isn't until tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. I keep forgetting it's Sunday.
I know, right?
Oh god. Love it. This is great. Listen, we had a
Uh,
boring day, and they said, "No more. We're done with that." And thank
mhm.
you.
So Cedric goes and he talks to MJ and he does his Cedric thing where he just tries to get her to volunteer. And he's like, "Hey man, yeah, it would be great if we could get like somebody that was really like physically good at things that could maybe do well at the AI arena comps that we can make sure that like Kenny and Angela don't win it." Who could that be? Maybe you know, MJ, I've noticed you're really athletic. Would you I mean, I don't know. And MJ's like, "Yeah, I mean, I would do it, but I've got this power." So that's I've got the power, so I probably shouldn't go because if I go on the block, I just need to use the power and then somebody else will go up anyway. Just kind of
Yeah.
I would, but ugh, sorry.
And I love that. I love that energy from her that she is just like, "Nope, do not put me up. I do not want to go up. It not happening. That I'd have to use my power. I'd look so stupid if I didn't. So it's just really not worth it." Like at least she's doing something.
Mhm. Yes, and she later talks to Leah about this. She's like, "I'm gonna be so pissed if he puts me up. Like,
Mhm.
he's gonna
I
be on my
and
list."
as she should be,
Yeah.
but it would still be entertaining.
Mhm.
So I would like to see it.
Yep. So Cedric talks to Quinn alone, and they talk about their final two. QC, quality control. Can you believe
QC.
it? they both, they're like, they come from, like, similar places or hometowns or whatever it is. And man, the 2 of them working together, and Quinn's like, "Yeah, so anyway, going back to that Kenny thing, I really feel like, do we really wanna take out Kenny yet? Because I do still feel like Angela might be a bigger problem." And Cedric is like, "Listen, I just wanna make sure we're telling each other every."
Like it's literally like he's laying the opportunity. Please tell me the truth. It's kind of like last chance to tell me the truth before there's going to be consequences for lying, is how it feels. And Quinn just can't do it.
Mhm. Yeah. It's like, uh, Cedric is like, "Listen, somebody ate the cookies, okay? And I'm just gonna ask you one more time, Quinn. Is there anything you wanna tell me?" And Quinn's got cookie crumbs all over his mouth and his shirt, and he's like, "Ah, I don't know, maybe we should talk more about Kenny? I don't know what you're trying to get at here."
Yeah, everyone is talking about the cookies. Everyone knows Quinn took the cookies from the cookie jar. And he's
Mhm.
like, couldn't be me. No. Let's talk about Kenny. I'm worried about him.
The amount of, like, and I feel like I can't relate to this, but, like, because the amount of hints that are given to Quinn that he just completely is oblivious to, is like, the amount of time
Yeah.
Cedric is like, "Man, just we're telling each other everything, right? Like, any questions? You got any questions for me? We trust each other, right?" And Quinn's like, "I trust you implicitly." He's like, "Yeah, me too. That's 'cause we're telling each other
Yeah, we tell each other
everything."
everything. There's nothing we're holding back from each other.
And Quinn's
And
like,
I'm
"Yeah."
like at this point, I'm honestly so curious. Is Quinn being purposefully obtuse? Like, does he see it, but he's avoiding it? Or does he genuinely not see all of these clues and hints being laid out in front of him? Like, I can't even tell at this point.
If I had to guess, I think Quinn has no intention of using the power. I think that he plans to deny this to the grave. The power never gets used, and he's like, "Man, I guess Lisa had it, huh?" And he thinks that he can get away with that. What he doesn't, and that, like, if Angela tries to say anything, he can just be like, "Well, that's Angela being Angela." It is funny. Angela does have a conversation with Kenny about Quinn having the power, because Kenny suspects that Quinn has the power, and Angela's like, "He does." But also Lisa had it, and he's like, "Wait, what?"
That okay, Angela was giving such a weird energy that in this whole conversation because she's like, "No, Lisa had it, and then Lisa came and told me, and she knew all of these specifics, and I just didn't know until after I'd already put her up, and she said it was too early to use it. So, I don't know, how would she have known all of that if she didn't have the power?" And I don't understand. I don't understand where this is coming from with Angela.
So I'm trying to like I am trying to think of like what are the ways that you could convince people you never had it. And I do think that Angela is actually more of a benefit than a negative at this point because of how convinced she is that Lisa also had one.
Mhm.
Because she's telling the story to Kenny. She's like, "Lisa definitely had it. She basically confirmed it to me. We had a conversation where she was saying, like, we don't need to use it yet, but we can wait later and use it to our benefit." Like, that conversation never happened. It's
No.
entirely in Angela's imagination. But now that she's saying that she had that conversation with Lisa, it would also absolutely put into question the idea that, like, she had the conversation with Quinn. When she tries to explain
Yeah,
Quinn's power. And
that's
so,
true.
like, there is a world where you could completely discredit Angela saying he has the power. The problem is Kimo. But
Yeah.
if he actually finds out that Kimo has told somebody and that other people know via Kimo, he can coordinate with Kimo to say, "Oh, well, Kimo only thought that he had the power because he also heard it from Angela, not from Quinn." And he can be like, "Oh, I'm misunderstood, Tucker. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have told you that." I knew it was him. I just assumed based on what Angela said that it must be true. And I feel like there's a way where you could maybe make that work, but, like, the whole situation
It's
is
that
ridiculous.
is so convoluted. That
It
as a
really is.
plan is so, so messy and strange. I I don't know. I guess in theory it could work, and with these particular house guests, I do think they are primed for, misinformation to work really well if it's done intentionally, but I don't know. That's a lot, and also with Tucker specifically being someone who knows, I don't know if there's anything that could take it like, take it back for him to not believe it anymore.
Well, the thing about Tucker is that you could be like, "You were right all along, it really was Lisa."
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. But I just why would anyone believe Lisa had anything? She was on the block 2 weeks in a row and then just went home. If she
If the
had something, she would have used it.
Right, but if the power was that you had to use it before noms and she was blindsided both times.
Oh god.
Listen,
I guess, but,
I
like
this is listen, I wanna make this clear. This is not a plan that I think should happen or, like, should be a thing that anybody wants to do. Quinn is already in such a terrible position. I'm just trying to think of, like, what is a conceivable, like,
yeah,
if he's trying to keep it a secret, how could he possibly still convince people that it is
uh,
actually untrue? And the reality is that even if he did do something like this, even if he coordinated the most
yeah,
effective, like, counter, espionage plan to convince people
yeah,
that it wasn't ever him, there will still, I think, always be a sneaking suspicion of, like, they will remember this moment of not trusting him. They will remember this
yeah,
moment of, like, talking to him and feeling like he's lying to their face. Where even if he does eventually convince them that it was all fake, they will still remember the feeling of this will not go
yeah.
away.
Well, and with, the only conceivable plan that might work, Quinn might pull a muscle from that stretch, right? So then everyone will know because he won't be able to walk around. It's
Um
crazy, but you're right, like, that is what else could he do? How else could he actually
Admit
climb
it.
out of
I
the hole?
quite
I like
right, like, to again, to be clear about this, I think the better and best plan has always been admit it, and I think admitting
yeah,
it will always be the best plan.
but
He
at
just seems
this
very allergic to that.
but is this a situation where it's like, okay, the best time to admit it would have been, a week and a half ago, but the second best time is now? Or is
Exactly.
it too late?
I don't think there is a too late. I think that, like, again, unless you want to try to orchestrate this massive thing where you can maybe
Yeah,
convince everyone, but even then, it's like now you're, like, just digging even deeper. I really feel like admitting it is just always the best play. I think that people underestimate the value of honesty and the idea that, like, you know, you because here's the thing. If he admits it now, it's like, "Okay, we're all mad at you for doing this," right? But he has HOH next week. There's still tons of
yeah,
time to get over it and rebuild those relationships and like focus now on like, hey, I'm actually being honest now. I really screwed up. People are very forgiving,
yeah,
especially for like a single screw up, I think. Like people were willing to rock with Angela even after her initial one. It wasn't until she screwed up multiple times after that that people
mhm,
stopped associating with Angela. I think that like in some ways, screwing up once and eventually admitting to it can deepen relationships because it really makes people feel we saw this with Bailey in Big Brother Canada 12, that, like, this honesty of, like, "Yeah, I screwed up, but let's use the fact that I screwed up and the fact that we're now having a more open and vulnerable
mhm.
conversation to go even deeper." Like, there's a lot of value there, and I think that that's something that Quinn is missing.
Yeah, and honestly, having an HOH used that was specifically done to bring a group together would really benefit the alliance. So I do see that, but I don't know if he's gonna do it. I really don't know if he seems to be all in on the "it wasn't me" strategy.
Yeah.
So
So, so Joseph eventually joins the conversation with Quinn and Cedric. And They talk some more about the plan to put MJ up. Quinn mentions that, hey, if MJ does go up and she uses the power, one of us is probably going up on the block because America hates dominant alliances. And Joseph is like, what? We just solidified. Like, there's not really. But ultimately, it doesn't matter which one of us goes up if one of us goes up because we're just not voting each other out. We're just going to vote out Angela or Kenny. And I don't know if this was directly related or if it was just coincidence, but Quinn then does bring up the Angela stuff and how it might have been portrayed, and that he really appreciates how they all kind of like backed him, and that how they all felt that like that Angela really did not handle that well and really should have been listening to T-Core.
I mean, yeah, when has Angela handled anything well in this house?
Mm-hmm. Cedric again brings up the other power. Man, would be great to know what that other power was. Quinn, you have any ideas what the other power might be? I don't know, like a double vote, maybe?
Oh my god. Is this okay? People have like Cedric knows that Kenny is a cop, right?
Yeah.
So at this point, I feel like Cedric should go ring, 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 911. I need the police. Arrest this man and interrogate him. I would love to see Kenny use his interrogation skills on Quinn. I mean, provided he has them. I don't know.
I think Tucker has better interrogation skills, having been
Well, he
trained by
was
the
trained by the
CIA.
CIA. I don't think he's allowed to use those methods in the Big Brother house.
Well, Cedric leaves the conversation, and Quinn and Joseph get talking. And Joseph finally comes clean about his fandom of the show. And this is one of the reasons why Quinn has been a little suspicious of Joseph, is that a lot of people have suspected that he's probably a bigger fan than he lets on. Um, and so they start bonding, and Joseph goes as far as to say that in his spare time he's doing some ratings.
When I was doing my like Taran Armstrong power rankings, which I was doing,
Uh,
What did your mentions look like this morning, Taran?
yeah, it was a lot of mentions. So Joseph has been doing some I didn't realize that's what they were called.
when I was doing my like Taran Armstrong power rankings,
Taran
which I was
Armstrong
doing.
power rankings.
Yeah,
Maybe we
that's
need to
why I go
rebrand.
to TaranArmstrongPowerRankings.com to do my stock watch picks every week.
Mhm. He says he sees Quinn as a 6 or a 7, which is pretty good. He kind of nailed that. Although I don't know if
Well,
he's
I
getting that
mean,
this week.
yeah, I was gonna say if anyone made their picks early and
I mean, I
thought
don't know
they'd
when
hit
Joseph
on
did his
Quinn.
rankings because, like, like that might have been last week. He might, if he's doing his rankings every Tuesday, then maybe he hasn't updated his yet either.
Yeah, that's last week's rating.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Hopefully, Joseph will do a cam talk and tell us what the ratings are for everyone, and on Tuesday, in time for the roundtable.
hmm we do discover that Joseph is a Will over Dan guy. Eesh.
Yep, I'm a Will over Darren guy too. Love it, Joseph. Get
Oh, I
there.
didn't. Yeah, that's interesting. Anyway, then they talk about Brooklyn and Cam being threats. It's a pretty funny situation. How that happens. Oh, that was interesting. Anyway, Joseph, they bond over, especially over the fandom that they have, and Joseph straight up they're like Quinn is like, oh, you guy, you and your Taran Armstrong power rankings. I can't believe we're both such fans. This is so funny. Uh, and they both talk about how they watched Corey talk about how you shouldn't tell people you're going to throw competitions. And they're like, oh, yeah, I watched that too. And we are both going to throw competitions, but we're not going to tell anybody except each other right now. Oh my
Well,
God, we're bonding. This is so great. And then Joseph says, in that moment, he's like, oh, yeah. And so, do you have the power? Quinn says, nope. It's like you really don't have the power.
Gwen.
He's like, Because I kind of thought you did, and if you did, I wouldn't care. And I'm just wondering if you have it. Like, really? And Quinn's like, no, no, I really don't. I really don't. Anyway, so what I was trying to tell you about Brooklyn is that she also watches Rob as a podcast. So I don't know. She tries to hide it, but and Joseph is like, yeah, I wouldn't have thought so. Based on some of the things she says.
You know what? This is again the trap lots of people are getting into all the time. People are like, RHAP, the podcast with one voice, one opinion, one favorite. Do you know how many podcasters are on this network? We don't all agree. We don't all like the same players. We don't all favor the same gameplay. I was just literally pushed off this podcast for having a different
Excuse
opinion.
me? I don't
Hashtag Kirsten
recall
was pushed.
that situation.
And like I think they're getting into that same trap where they're like, well, we're both the like kind of more nerdy super fan vibe, so we don't understand how Brooklyn maybe has the same, you know, podcast fandom as us because she's different from us. Guess how many people listen to this podcast? They also don't all agree on gameplay, and they certainly don't all agree with us if our Twitter mentions are anything to go by or the YouTube chat is anything to go by. So it's just in anything, assuming or attributing one thing to any group, whether it's in the house, whether it's the podcast you listen to, whether it's a group of friends, is a mistake because people are different. I know, newsflash, breaking news. Very different for people to learn today.
Beautifully said, Kirsten. I completely agree. Although I will say this is probably more because of like Taylor Hall than it was about Democrats.
Well, okay, listen, names are hard, okay? Names are hard sometimes. She was close. She was one letter off. Nothing but love and respect to Taylor Hall.
Yeah. Joseph does say he regrets outing Rubina's thing because it really could be a good backup plan for them. He does acknowledge that like that is a good path for them, or at least when he's talking to Quinn. Um, he also did not love that Cedric felt comfortable asking him to go up as a pawn. That really told him where he stands with Cedric. And so, you know, Joseph really playing into what Quinn is trying to get him to acknowledge. Whether like how much he believes it is maybe another story, but does a good job here with Quinn to certainly convince him that he is on board with what Quinn wants. And then Quinn ends it with this is the quote that I saw the most last night.
All right, so it's gonna be a race to see who gets the deep dive with Taran.
Deep dive.
Well, it might not be such a deep dive for them, but you know what? I love the positivity.
Yeah, I don't know if race is the best term for that, because if it's a race, then like you want to last the longest. That's kind of the
I think that they are both operating under the assumption that they are going to go to jury and go far in the game, and then it's like they'll get out at the same time, and the race will start at the same time. Once again, because Quinn does not realize the danger that he is in. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really, right now, it's if let's say Quinn had a deep dive, it's a matter of like what percentage of his deep dive is me being like, what were you doing with this power info? Is it all of it because he's about to leave, or is it like the first 20%?
Well, and that's the thing. If he's about to leave, it's a pretty shallow dive. So
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we will see about all of that. MJ talks to Leah. I already mentioned that. Cedric goes and tells T-Core he is thinking of putting MJ on the block. And then later talks to the cameras saying, man, everyone wants to put MJ up, and I really don't want to. But that's what I'm leaning toward because that's what everyone says they want me to do. And I'm worried about this Rubina group. I'd love to get in with them as much as possible. He says he's worried about Quinn's power. He said he must have told Kimo and Tikor, and Tikor just hasn't told anyone. But why did Kimo tell Tucker? And why did Tucker tell Cam and not me? Like, he's like, this is shaking Cedric's world because he had a final two with Quinn, and Quinn told Kimo, but not anybody else. Then Kimo told Tucker. He does not know about Kimo having a relationship with Tucker at all. Why would Kimo tell Tucker? That makes no sense to him. In addition to that, he's in a final three now with Tucker. Why did Tucker tell Cam, but not him? That's confusing to him as well. He doesn't have a final two with Cam, but Cam told him about Tucker telling him, but not Tucker telling him directly. So he's just like, everyone he thought he had is not telling him things except for Cam.
Yeah, he's confused because it's confusing. Why did this happen? This should not have happened like this.
Notably, when he's talking about his alliances, he is no longer like he's not mentioning the quality control final two basically at all. I think he has entirely disengaged from that as something that he thinks is a serious alliance, and reasonably so.
Yeah. I mean, what else is he supposed to believe at this point?
Yeah. So that's where Cedric currently stands. He plans to talk to MJ in the morning, and see if he can get her to volunteer. He says he will do it anyway if he has to. MJ, I believe, will push hard against being on the block.
Yes.
She has plenty of time to do so. There's plenty of reason for him to not do it. So we'll see what comes of this. Again, Chelsea, I think, will be pushing, not MJ, Leah. And then, who knows where it all goes from there.
Yeah.
But Tikor is talking to Kimo late at night. She's still concerned about these bigger guys. She's looking at Cam. She's looking at Tucker. And so that is still worth noting, even though there's a lot less power over there on that side now.
Yeah. And just to the speaking of the men's thing, isn't it so cute how suddenly Kenny's down to play Big Brother when men are winning competitions and he's not getting beaten by women? I just think it's really interesting that is the one thing that either pushes the start or stop button on Kenny's game. It's like he hates being in the Big Brother house so much, but the only thing he hates more is when women are outperforming him in competitions or
Yeah, I
possibly
mean,
lasting longer.
listen, Kenny has only ever seen the show in the modern era when men win at least like 75% of all competitions. He gets into this season and women are winning left and right. Like, that is not the show he signed up for, Kirsten.
Well, yeah, he signed up to vote the women out because how could they do better than him?
Uh
Anyways, I'm very happy that you are not willing to entertain that his I want to take my ball and go home thing is about strategy, because it's clear it's not you, because
it's
we've
very
seen now
clearly
what
not.
we've
Yeah.
seen what he's like when he's talking strategy. We know what that is, and it's this weirdo vibe that he gives off about, oh, there's this women's thing that's so strong and we've got to get them out. Get out of here.
Yeah, there was some talk about Kenny and the way that he talks about the women, and how he's like Quinn was talking about this, that he was like, yeah, I think that Brooklyn is like leading them because they haven't had somebody like Brooklyn to like oh man, I forget now exactly what the phrasing was, but like to put them in line or something like that, to like they needed a lady like Brooklyn to keep them in line or whatever. And that's why he thinks that Brooklyn, as the strong woman, is the leader of this women's thing.
Yeah, that's the problem. There's no larger sociological reasons as to why there's issues and difficulties with gendered alliances. They just needed a strong enough woman, and none of the other women have been strong enough over the years. Shut up, Kenny. Go home. Take your ball. Go home. You're not winning.
All right. Well, Kirsten, anything else you want to bring up from yesterday?
Well, I just can't believe you didn't bring up when Quinn was talking about how his flatulence has impacted his job performance in the past, because that was obviously so important to the day.
You know, Quinn is not telling people things he should be telling them and telling people things he should not be telling them.
Yeah, I don't think that Tucker's CIA training could have pulled that information out of me if it applied to me. Like, oh, you're on TV, my guy. Oh, also, did we know before yesterday that Joe only gets store credit for his time at the video store? Do we know what his real job is that he gets money for?
No, yeah, he volunteers there to help out the owner, but I do not know what he actually makes money doing for
Yeah.
sure.
So I would be very interested to know that. I'm
He
honestly
probably said it and
so
I forgot, to be honest.
I'm so relieved that it's not his real job, because I was so confused this whole time as to how and that anyone is making money doing that in the year 2024.
Mhm. Yeah, fair enough. All right, well, that's what we have for you then today. Of course, later tonight, there will be an episode, and there will be a recap after the episode. Um, I will be talking about House of the Dragon though, because House of the Dragon finale is tonight. So you can tune in for that if you would like. Tomorrow I'll be back 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 26 live feeds. And that's pretty much. We got the getaway finales coming soon. And tastemakers, we're talking scripted TV. So tune in for all of that. And of course, find me on Twitch, hanging out over there. Kirsten, what are you up to?
Yes, so the Too Hot to Handle final batch dropped, and so a podcast about that will be coming very soon on the Hot Dummies on Islands podcast. As well, there's Mess Magnets every week where myself and Sasha Joseph are talking pop culture, celeb gossip, trending topics, all of that stuff. So definitely check that out as well. If you want an RHAP Brat shirt, go to robhaswebsite.com/RHAPBrat is the URL. And you can follow me everywhere at Kirsten Said What. That's Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, all of them. It's at Kirsten Said What.
All right. Well, that's what we have for you today. Thank you all so much for joining us, and I will see all of you next time.